Hello everyone and welcome to Clarity 16.0.2 Supportability and Feature Training. I am Vib Mehrotra, and as part of this module we will be covering the financial enhancements. As part of this release we are making the following enhancement to the Clarity financials. We will now allow the ability to view decimals in modern UX based on the studio settings. Widgets will now be available in cost, budgets, benefit plans, and actual transactions. We will also have the ability to filter the data in the grid layout based on TSV values. We'll have the option to hide actual transactions in the modern UX. We will have the ability to drill down on actuals per period from cost or budget plans. Benefit fields are also now going to be available in the investment level of projects, ideas, CITs, which is the custom investment types, and hierarchies. And in this release, we are introducing the APIs to manage currency exchange rate. The reason this is important is because customers have been using Clarity in a global environment to manage their investment across the globe and want an automated way to manage their currency rates. So hence in this release we are going to introduce the APIs to manage the currency rates. The customers also would like to capture and track financial details for their investments and want the ability to view and filter their financial TSV data within their investment grid. That will be provided in this release. Customers that do not want to expose individual actual details would like to hide that details from their Clarity financials. This was in the past made available as a toggle behind the scenes, but now we will provide that as a settings within system options. And finally, the customers analyzing financial data at investment level want to see their benefit details in the investment grid similar to the other financial fields. So first, let's talk about the enhancement to displaying the decimal settings. As part of this release, we are making the change where the end user will have the option to change the settings how decimals are displayed when viewing the either number or money value in the modern UX grid. The new setting is going to be called Auto, and that setting will display the number based on either how it is configured in the studio or based on how it works in the classic UI. This setting will support number, money, and TSV, and now the user will have the option to really view the data in one of four ways. They can either view it with no decimal by setting it to 0, they can view it with 1 decimal, 2 decimal, or auto, which will then be based on the studio settings. Discussing a little bit detail in regards to how this auto will work is as follows. For TSV data, we will display up to 5 decimals for number or money values. For non-TSV, for a number value that would either be stock or custom out of the box, we will display whatever is configured in the studio, which would be up to 6 decimals. For money, we will display 2 decimals for stock attributes and 3 decimals for custom attribute. This decimal setting works exactly the same as classic UI. Continuing to have the widgets available across Clarity, we will now have the ability to define widgets for the financial module of the investments. Now, widgets will be available in cost plans, budgets, benefits plan, and actual transactions. Widgets that are defined in cost plan is shared with the budgets because they are based on the same object. So anything you define in one will be available in the other between cost plan and budgets only. We will now have the capability to filter on TSV data in the modern UX. Filter has been enhanced to be available for filtering for TSV data in grid, timeline, board, and widgets. We will support filtering for out-of-the-box values as well as custom TSV values. Filtering option will be same as number field. Filtering data will honor view settings of sum of period or grand total, which means when I'm filtering for a TSV data and if my view setting says sum of period, then that filter number will be applied for the total of the sum of period only. And similarly, if I change to grand totals, then the filter will be applied towards the grand total number for my value. TSV filter will respect the user's unit of measure setting for stock TSV field. For example, if the user has the allocation or usage set in either days or hours, then when filtering for those, we will respect and search the number accordingly. For example, if the user has a setting for hours and their work week is 40 hours and we search for 40, then we will find any user that has 40 hours for that week. If the user changes their settings to days, then the 40 number would not find the value. You would have to search for 5 to get your results. So we will respect whatever is the end user's unit of measure setting. Starting this release, we also will have an option that is going to be available in the system options page where the administrators can hide the actual transactions from the financial model in modern UX. This flag is going to be called hide financial actual transactions. The default value for this is going to be unchecked, and when this value is checked, the actual transaction module that is available in the financial module of an investment will automatically be removed. And in this example, when I have this flag checked, I no longer see the actual transactions under my financials. We are also enhancing the capability to easily view the actuals data while in your cost plan or in budgets. This is by allowing you to click on the actuals that is displayed in the cost plan or budget plans. You can click on the number that is listed on the screen. Like in this example, for an individual user, I can see that the actuals are now a clickable link. I can click on the actuals and a pop-up modal will appear displaying me the specific transactions that sum up to be that number. This functionality would only work if the actual transactions has been enabled. If the admin has disabled viewing of the actual transaction, then this functionality will not be available. This functionality will also work with group by. So in the same example, if I was to group by a certain attribute such as the resource type and then see the sum of all those resource type, clicking on that will display to me the data that how the totals is broken down. The layout for the fields that are displayed in this pop-up transaction is based on the view I have configured in the actual transactions. So whichever attributes were defined in there, I can see those attributes in here. I also have the capability to export this data out to CSV. I can configure to change the layout from right within this pop-up modal, as well as I can change the filter to see additional data if I choose to do so. What I do not have the capability is to save the value that is any changes that I make to this layout. So right here, if I was to step through it, I can export the data out. I can filter the data out. I can filter the data in this example. I have clicked on Derek Joseph for September. So whatever I click on, that is the default that will be displayed to me right here. And the detailed transactions will be displayed. I can change this filter or change this layout as I choose to do so. I do not have any detail flyout available, so there is no detail option. And viewing of this value can be done either by clicking on the actual cost or the actual unit. When I show the demo, you will see this functionality working in action. Starting this release, we have also added the benefit fields in the investment level. So now benefit fields will be available in projects, ideas, custom investment types, and hierarchy investments. We are also renaming the following fields for better visibility. The detailed plan benefit will be renamed to plan benefit. Detailed plan actual benefit will be renamed to planned actual benefit. Detailed budget benefit will be renamed to budget benefit, and detailed budget actual benefit will be renamed to budget actual benefit. Going into the respective investment grids, such as the project, custom investment types, hierarchy, or ideas, filtering on benefit will show you all the fields that are available. The screenshot of those are listed right here. Starting 16.0.2, we are introducing the exchange rate API. So now you can use the REST APIs to manage your exchange rates. The ability to create or update is available. However, you cannot delete the exchange rate. This is because exchange rate deletion is not allowed in the system. The APIs will work with the existing rights. With that, let's see the new functionality in action. So here I am in Clarity 16.0.2. The first thing I want to show is I have a custom attribute that is defined in my idea object, and I want to show that it's a number field that is defined to have more than 6 digits. So for that, I am going to go into my administrative section. I'm going to go into the object management, and let's filter for the idea object. And I'm going to look for the custom field, which is estimate cost by categorization. Here you can see that this field is defined to have up to 6 decimal places in the studio. And while I'm here, I will also show you the new setting that is available to hide the actual transaction. So I'm going to go into the system settings, the system options. I'm going to scroll down, and under the new user experience, I have the new flag, hide financial actual transaction. If I check this field, then the actual transaction will be hidden from the project finance. All right, so let's see a couple of these in action. First, let's go into our ideas, and let's look at how we can see more than 6 digits in my grid layout. So as I'd shown, that I have a new custom attribute which is called estimate cost by categorization. Currently my setting is to only show me up to 2 digits, and I can see that in my view option that my decimal setting is only up to 2. If I change it to auto, and in this case, because this is a number, I should be able to see all 6 digits. So as you can see, it dynamically updated, and I can now see all 6 digits that have been configured in my studio and the data that has been entered. Similarly, it can be done for money if I have money data that have up to 6 digits defined. So you can see the fund distribution value now is showing me up to 6 digits. I can change it back, and it automatically then trims the data down to the selected decimal value. Next, I wanted to show is the ability to hide the actuals. So we have the flag. By default, I have the value enabled. So let's go ahead and look at in my project, and I'm going to go into the incident response playbook project, and I'm going to go into my financials. So by default, you can see I have the actuals transaction displayed to me. I can go into my system options. I can now check the box, hide financial transactions, save this. I'm going to go back and just refresh my screen. And after refresh, you can see that the actuals has been hidden. I can no longer see the actuals data. All right, to continue on with the demo, I'm going to go ahead and enable that again. And while we are on this page, you can see the next thing that I wanted to cover, which is within financials. I am inside of cost plan, and I can see that I now have the widgets available to me to view the data. In this case, I've created just two widgets that tells me the breakdown by plan type as well as the total cost for the plan of record. I can see the same for budgets, but in this case, seeing the total for plan of record maybe does not make that much sense. And as I mentioned that the view is and the widgets are shared between cost plan and budget, so I can change my view. And now I can see different widgets where it tells me different information. How many budgets have been approved, what is the total based on the approved budgets, as well as what is the total for the plan of record. So I can see different widgets saved within the views as well as the widgets that are shared between cost plan and budgets. Next, I'm going to go into the actuals and show that we also have widgets within the actual transactions. And in this case, you can see that I can create different widgets to understand how much of my expense is going to external labor, breakdown of actuals by resources, or even breakdown based on the task, and then the breakdown based on internal and external expenses. So I can easily visualize the data that is available to me based on now the widgets within this layout. Next, let's go inside a cost plan and let's see how we can view the actuals based on specific transactions. So I'm going to go into the cost plan that has been created, and in here you can see that the actuals are highlighted, which means I can click on the actuals and see additional data. I can do this on actual cost as well as I can do this for actual units. So let's find out for Nick Evans, how is the actuals really coming from? So I can do that by clicking on the specific column, and I can see that pop up automatically displaying me just Nick Evans total, how that is broken down based on each day, based on the different task that the actual was entered towards, and then the cost and additional data. So all of that information is automatically displayed to me. You can see I can export this data out to CSV. I can add additional columns if I want to see them. I can also go into filters and see that the data that was automatically filtered for me is right here. I can change this filter to see additional data. So for example, maybe I don't want to see for Nick Evans, I want to see for others for the same time period, and now I can see other resources and their actuals. I do not have the capability to save this. This is just to analyze while I'm using this information. I can go ahead and close it. The layout for all of this is coming from the actual transaction grid. So I can see that by closing this, going out and going to the actual transaction, and you can see the same layout is available here. I can go ahead and make some changes, such as I can hide the user value 1 and 2. I can hide the charge code and location. So I've hidden quite a few, so you can easily see that the layout is going to change. going to go back to my cost plan, go back in here and click on Nick Evans again. And now you see that the layout only has very limited columns. This is exactly the same number of columns that I had in my actual transaction view. You can also see the same by grouping the data. So in this example, I have resource and I have resource class. So let's just say if I want to group my data by resource class, and now I can see the totals. So the actuals broken down by expense, internal labor, offshore, onshore. If I want to see how my internal labor cost is really broken down, I can now see that the total within this specific is available. I can click on that, and now the internal labor cost is automatically highlighted and it's shown to me. I can look at specific month. So if I scroll to the right and I look at, in this case, I have quarters, so I can click on the quarter, and now the data is only showing me for that quarter. And there you can see that it is pre-filtered for that specific quarter that I clicked on. Next, let's go back out to the project's grid layout. And here I'm just going to show you that under the columns, I can see the new benefit fields that have been added. And here is the list, the same list that was shown in the presentation earlier, where all the list of attributes that are available. I can include any of these attributes in my grid layout to see the data. The same is available in ideas, custom investment types, and hierarchy, but for the demo purpose, I am not going to show you all of those. Next, let's go to ideas again, and let's look at how we can filter based on TSV. Scroll to the right and you can see that we have quite a few TSV data for my ideas. There is a custom attribute that is created called fund distribution, and then the out-of-the-box attributes plan cost and plan benefit. So now I can see that for all the different ideas, the fund is allocated for a different range, but maybe I'm only interested to see which ideas have funds distribution that is more than 500,000. To do that, I would like to filter based on my fund distribution attribute, and I can say show me only where the data is greater than 500,000. It is showing me that there is only one investment where the fund is more than 500,000. This data is based on the view settings. So this data is being shown based on the sum of periods. That means only within this year which idea has a fund distribution of greater than 500,000. If I change this to grand total, then it'll apply this filter to all the ideas where the grand total is now going to be greater than 500,000. So let's go ahead and do that. And when I change that, you can see now there are additional ideas that are there that goes beyond this 1 year period where the fund distribution is more than 500,000. Similarly, if I wanted to apply this change to my widget, I can do that by going into my manage widgets, and I can say that for this widget I only want to see the data. No matter what filter is applied outside, I want this widget to only display the data where the fund is greater than 500,000. So now I can filter on the TSV of where the fund distribution is greater than 500,000. I can save that. Now I can see that about 73% is between high and very high. If I take this out, this number will still remain between the same 73. So this widget is now always going to show me based on the TSV data that I have configured within the widget. All right. The next thing that I want to show is the new APIs for financial exchange rate. For that, first I'm going to go into the studio configuration where you can define the foreign exchange rate. In this case, I already have created about 4 different exchange rates. And now I want to look at the new API. To show you the new API, I'm going to use Postman, but of course the API could be tested using any other application. But for this demo purpose, I will be using Postman. The first API call I'm going to do is basically just the general describe on the API to see what all attributes are available for me to look at. To do that, again, I'm going to make a call into my system with the describe and then endpoint being exchange rates. When I do that, I can see the API description is all available to me. I can use this information to build my integration. I can make a call to the actual exchange rates, and this will give me all the exchange rates that have been defined. So if I make that call, I can see that there are 4 exchange rates that have been defined, and the details for those are all listed here. I can also pull in an individual exchange rate. So in this case, I want to see what is the exchange rate that is defined for between Indian rupee and US dollar. I can do that by making a call directly to that exchange rate, and I can see the value that it has been defined at 77.11 is the exchange rate. If I want to change this, I can do so by making a patch call to that same exchange rate, to that specific instance, and I can say that instead of 77.1, maybe the rate has changed now to just $75. I can change that value. The change is sent, and if I go back into my Clarity and I refresh, I can see that now the data is changed to 75 as I sent through the API. And finally, we have the API to also do a post to create a new entry, and that is done the same way by making a call to exchange rate, passing the appropriate syntax, and making a post call. And that concludes this section. Thank you, everyone.